So today we've got what is quite possibly the highest spec 718 Cayman GT4, certainly that we've ever come across. It's got pretty much every option you can get. So first, I'm going to reveal the car and then we're going to go through each option one by one. So let's reveal the car. So it's been a little while since we've done a video from our Spectacular series, so we're going to go back to the original format where I start off with the most expensive option and then work my way down all the way to the cheapest option. And this video should give a lot of valuable insights for GT4 owners, prospective GT4 buyers about all the different options you can actually get on a GT4, as well as showing what a spectacular example this is. So you won't be surprised to learn that the most expensive option on the car is actually the paint. That's because it's from the Paint to Sample range, or PTS, and it's called Nogaro Blue Metallic. It's £6,986, and a lot of you will know that Nogaro Blue is actually an Audi color. It's one of the most exclusive Audi colors, originated from the Audi RS2, which was the first ever Audi RS car, and we believe this is the only UK 718 GT4 in that color. And even though it's called Nogaro Blue Metallic, you get this color in the sun. It's much more of a pearl effect paint, really glistens in the sun. It just makes for a really unique example. So the second most expensive option on the car is the Porsche Carbon Ceramic Brakes, or PCCB as it's often abbreviated to, £5,597. And this is one of the most desirable options of the car. It's the thing that a lot of GT4 buyers must have on their GT4. That's because not only does it significantly improve braking performance, it actually reduces the weight of the car. They're more resistant to fade, they're more resistant to rust, they create less brake dust, and actually they add significant value to the car when it comes to resale. It is also worth mentioning that during the production run of the GT4, carbon ceramic brakes were actually a big shortage of them, so a lot of GT4s weren't actually able to get carbon ceramic brakes, which makes this car that little bit extra special. So the third most expensive option on the car is the full bucket seats, £3,788. Obviously, being a track-focused car, a lot of people are going to want the bucket seats. Some people do prefer the comfort seats, especially if you're using your GT4 every day. But I actually think these are pretty comfortable. They are a snug fit, but they're not that restrictive, and I think they give you that added sense of occasion every time you drive. Also, they look bloody cool. All the carbon in the headrest, the carbon backs, I think these are the seats to have. Next up is the Club Sport Package, £2,778. The Club Sport Package is all about setting your car up for track use. So you get the full roll cage in the back. You also get a fire extinguisher and a driver's seat 6-point harness. As you can see, fire extinguisher is still in the box, as is the harnesses. The first owner has chosen not even to use them. And even though the Club Sport Package is a sort of track-friendly option, it's really about adding that sort of character to the car. You don't actually have to take the car on track like the first owner of the car hasn't, but it is a good resale option. And obviously, if you are going to take your car on track, you definitely want it. So the next option is one I always think looks a bit expensive on the surface, but when you actually look at the detail, I think it's definitely worth it. It's called the Interior Trim Package with deviating stitching and embroidery in contrasting color. It's £1,937, and it basically gives your entire interior a real lift. As you can see on this car, it's gone with something called speed blue stitching, and the stitching is absolutely everywhere, all across the dashboard, through the center console, it's on the seats, it's on the doors, it's on the steering wheel, and you get the door pulls in the same color. And I think without that, it can look a little bit bland inside, so I think it's more than worth it. So, unless you're going to use your GT4 purely as a track toy and let it never see darkness, you're probably going to want to upgrade the lights. So as standard, you get bi-xenon headlights, but you can upgrade those for the Porsche Dynamic Lighting System, PDLS, which gives you sort of a little bit more wattage. It gives you the 4-point daytime running lights, it gives you sort of dynamic cornering lights, and it gives you the headlight washers. That is £918. You can go one step further and get the LED headlights. That's £1,397. That's what this car has. So it gives you everything I've already said before, but the added LED dimming technology. They also look slightly more modern, I would say. They've got that sort of oval design compared to the circular design of the bi-xenons, and I think are worth that added extra. So back onto the interior now for the next option, which is called the RaceTex Interior with extensive items in black leather. £1,242, and this is giving you all this materials inside, so you get the full upper dashboard all in that black smooth finished leather. You get the top of the instrument cluster here in black leather and the top of the door panels in leather. So all items that are very much in vision, and you get this center console side sections as well in leather. For the RaceTex part of it, you get the lower part of the dashboard and the center parts of the door panels, giving you that nice contrast of leather and RaceTex. So as standard on the GT4, you get the Sound Package Plus. That's an 8-speaker sound system. It's 120 watts. It's not great. So if you're into your music, you're going to want to upgrade to the Bose surround sound system, which is what this car's got. £834. It gives you 10 speakers over 500 watts, so it's a far better sound system. It is worth mentioning on the GT4, they don't give you the option to spec the Burmester surround sound, which you'll see on some of the other Porsches, so we'll have to make do with the Bose. But it does sound pretty good. Okay, so on to the next option, which is another leather option. So for £783, you can select the dashboard trim package in leather. So whilst you've already got the upper dashboard in leather as part of the pack before, if you want the dashboard trim, so this part here on top of the Sport Chrono cover and around that central dash speaker, the little bit here on top of the air vents, in fact, the little defroster trims up here where you can barely even see, and finally, on the end of the dashboard, you've got to select this option, which you can't even see those when the door is closed. Next up, illuminated door sill guards in carbon, £674. And this option is, you see it every time you open the door, both driver and passenger. And it's a nice little strip of carbon. Obviously the illuminated part, you're probably going to see better at night. I just think it's a really nice touch. And if you don't get it, you're just going to get a bit of aluminium, which is just not as nice. So we're on to the 11th option, I think now. So if you and your passenger don't want the same temperature settings, you're going to want a car with 2-zone climate control, £539. It gives you separate controls for your driver and your passenger. So if you feel the cold a little bit more than your passenger, you can crank up the heating without bothering your passenger too much. So the next option is the carbon interior package, £471, which I actually think is really good value. And if you like your carbon, you're going to want to select this option. So you get carbon all through the door strips here, you get carbon through the center console and through the dashboard. It's not loads of carbon, but knowing what some manufacturers charge for carbon, I actually think is really good value. So next up, whilst you've already got your carbon door sill guards, you might want to select the inner door sill guards in leather with the deviating stitching, £408. Not to be confused with the illuminated door sill guards, which just sit on the exterior, but just on this inner section here, you've got this nice bit of leather with the blue stitching, which just adds another little bit of luxury. So as standard, you get the wheels in platinum silver, but if you want to paint them another color like this in satin black, it's £387. And I think the satin black works really well on this car with the Nagara blue and the yellow calipers that you get with the carbon ceramic brakes. So we're back to more leather options. This one is called the door trim package in leather. It's £380. And as we've seen from one of the earlier options, we've already got the upper door panel in leather, but this package gives you a little few extras. So it's this little strip, we believe, here that runs through the center. You've got this little door mirror panel, this little triangular one, and you've got the little trim on the end of the door. £380, money well spent. Also £380, climate control panel in leather. That's just this little section here, quite a small panel, which is already covered in buttons, but I mean, it comes as plastic as standard. I have seen some cars with actually painted in the exterior color, which can look rather ghastly, so the leather is a nicer option. Next option is the automatically dimming mirrors with rain sensor, £345. So for the mirrors, it's going to help reduce any sort of dazzle from headlights, and obviously with the rain sensor, it's going to automatically detect when it's raining to bring on those wipers. Next up is the Chrono Package in preparation for lap trigger, £336. So sport Chrono Package, like you'd get on most Porsches, is a performance related things, but here on the GT4, that is standard, and purely this option is to have an analog clock and a sort of timer to do your laps. So we're back to leather again. This time it's the steering column casing in leather, £315, and that is this section here behind the steering wheel with the deviating stitching as well. Next up, whilst I've mentioned on the Club Sport package, you get the driver's seat 6-point harnesses, but if you want your passenger to have 6-point harness as well, it's £294. You wouldn't want your passenger missing out on all the fun, would you? Next up is your Sunvisors in RaceTex, £291. Gives you that lovely soft finish for your sun visors. So we're on to leather again, but this time it's the vehicle documentation folder in leather, £270. So as standard, you get this one, which is a sort of pretty grainy leather, but you don't want that one, do you? You want this nice, smooth black leather, which says Porsche exclusive manufacturer on it. Next up, Chrono stopwatch instrument dial in white, £245, which is this right here. Obviously, if you're going to get your other instrument dials in white, you may as well get the matching Chrono stopwatch dial. Next up is the light design package, £210. That just gives you a little bit of additional ambient lighting on the interior. You get a bit in the footwell, you get a little section up here, which you can only really see at night, and then you also get the illuminated sun visors. Next up, one of the most important options, electric folding mirrors, £210. So if you're going to be parking in city centres, parking in multi-storey car parks, you're going to want to have the electric folding mirrors. Next up is the coloured seat belts in shark blue, £194. You can't unfortunately get Megaro blue seat belts, but this does match the stitching and is the closest thing to the exterior. So next up, we're getting towards the end now. This one is the storage compartment lid in RaceTex with the Porsche crest. I like this one because it's right next to you, £161. You can choose the Porsche logo, but personally, I prefer this lovely Porsche crest. So the next one is the Porsche logo painted in satin black, £105. That's this Porsche logo here, which is normally chrome as standard, but if you want that sort of stealthy look where it really blends in, you'll want this option. So we're on to the penultimate one now. For £93, you get this rather fancy exclusive Porsche fuel filler cap. Onto the final option on the car, and this is for £38. It is the smoker's package. Now don't get this misunderstood. This is not because someone wants to smoke in the car. The real reason people select the smoker's package is you get this little storage compartment down here, which if you don't get the smoker's package, this is just open, but you do get a little door which just opens this little area for some loose change, and you get the cigarette lighter, which can double up as a charging point as well. So that's it. What a spectacular example of the 718 GT4. What do you guys think? We really want to hear your comments. What have you gone for on your GT4? What do you think are the most important options? We want to hear it all. Please give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you again very soon.